Welcome to the Rummage Report for April 15th, 2026. Today's topic is Trump defies Supreme Court on deportation. Casey Liberty kicks us off today.
Hey guys, did you see the news about Trump and the deportation situation? It's a big deal. The administration is pushing hard to deport migrants, including those with criminal backgrounds, without giving them much notice or the due process that's usually required. They're trying to bypass some court orders that they say are holding things up and making it harder to enforce immigration laws. This includes sending people to countries like South Sudan and Guatemala, places that most of us wouldn't want to end up in. Now, here's the kicker. Some people think this is about restoring order and reducing the burden on taxpayers. If we deport people who are using welfare, it could ease some of the financial strain on the system. But let's be real. If you're a small business owner or a farmer, you might be feeling the pinch if there aren't enough workers around to get the job done. It's a complicated situation that has real consequences for everyday Americans.
Casey, you're spot on about the potential impact on small businesses and farmers if deportations lead to labor shortages. The reality is that many industries, especially agriculture, rely heavily on immigrant labor to function. If those workers are suddenly gone, it could drive up costs for consumers and make it harder for businesses to operate. But Jordan, while I get the concern for due process, we also have to consider what happens when people with criminal backgrounds are allowed to stay. It's a balancing act. The safety of communities matters too. We can't ignore that some of these deportations are framed as necessary from public safety, even if the method raises serious legal questions. The challenge is finding a solution that protects communities without undermining the rule of law.
Casey, you nailed the impact on small businesses and the labor force. Without immigrant workers, we risk driving up prices for consumers, especially in agriculture. But let's not overlook the real human cost of these deportations. The administration is defying court orders, sending people back to countries where they face real danger, like South Sudan, without proper due process. 1. This isn't just about safety, it's about lives at stake. Sam, while I understand your concerns about public safety, we need to ensure that due process is upheld. Ignoring that opens the door to a dangerous precedent where the executive can operate above the law, which affects everyone, not just immigrants.
Sam, you're right about the labor shortages. They're a real concern, especially in agriculture. But Jordan, while I respect your emphasis on due process, let's not ignore the fact that these deportations are framed as a necessary step for public safety. The Trump administration argues that they're acting within their rights to enforce immigration laws, especially when dealing with individuals who have criminal records. If we don't take action, we could be allowing dangerous individuals to remain in our communities, which is a risk taxpayers shouldn't have to shoulder. Balancing safety and fairness is tough, but we can't overlook the potential risks to American citizens either.
Casey, you're right to highlight the potential labor shortages.
Farmers and small businesses could really struggle if they lose their workers. But Jordan, while I agree that due process is crucial, we can't ignore the fact that the Trump administration is framing these actions as a necessary response to public safety concerns. The reality is, some of these deportations are aimed at individuals with criminal backgrounds, which raises valid fears for communities. We need to balance safety and legal rights. But if the administration is ignoring court orders, that could set a dangerous precedent for how laws are enforced, impacting all Americans, not just immigrants.
Casey, you make a solid point about the labor shortages that could hit farmers and small businesses hard if deportations ramp up. But let's get real about the consequences of these actions on actual people. The administration is using the Alien Enemies Act to bypass court orders and is deporting individuals to places where they might face torture or death. This isn't just about public safety, it's about lives. Sam, while I understand the concern for community safety, we can't sacrifice due process, which is a cornerstone of our justice system. If we allow the executive branch to operate above the law, it undermines everyone's rights, not just immigrants.
The conversation. Casey, Sam, and Jordan discuss the implications of the Trump administration's approach to deportation, particularly focusing on the balance between public safety and due process. They agreed on the potential negative impact on small businesses and agriculture due to labor shortages if deportations increase. However, they disagreed on the importance of due process versus public safety. While Jordan emphasized the human cost and risks of bypassing legal procedures, Casey highlighted the necessity of deporting individuals with criminal backgrounds to protect American citizens. Sam tried to mediate, acknowledging both sides, but warning against setting a dangerous precedent by ignoring court orders. Worth thinking about. 1. How do we balance the need for public safety with the fundamental rights of individuals, especially those facing deportation? 2. If the deportation of individuals with criminal records is framed as a necessary safety measure, what safeguards should be in place to ensure that innocent individuals are not unjustly affected? 3. In what ways might the erosion of due process in immigration cases impact the broader legal system and the rights of all citizens? If you asked me, and remember, I'm a raccoon, I'd say let's make sure everyone's got a fair chance, because nobody wants to end up in a dumpster fire of injustice.